we will move to another important topic, incident response priorities for business leaders, by Mr. Stewart Room, Global Head of Data Protection and Cybersecurity at DWF Law LLP. Mr. Stewart has very deep connections in the cybersecurity and data protection fields and is widely recognized as a leader in these areas. He has acted in many high-profile incidents and has long track of record of delivering positive outcomes for incident response, including legal success. Please join me to welcome him on stage.
Thank you. You're ever so kind. You're having a great conference. Look at all you lot, the people who are really into cyber. So, when you look at the topic and you tour the world, and I give talks everywhere about this, there's a reason why we're excited about the subject matter. And it's not because technology vendors are absolutely superb at selling technology. It's not that. It's not because we're really concerned about how much agility we can get out of our technology. The reason we're here today, the reason why this conference is here today, is because of failure. If we didn't have failure in this environment, cyber wouldn't be anything. We wouldn't be talking about it here in Jordan. We wouldn't be talking about it in America. We wouldn't be talking about it in Europe. It's operational failure that has driven all of our engagement in this topic. And that's what I'm here to do today. If this is working properly, let me just check. I'll give it another click. Maybe there'll be some cyber magic that'll happen. What shall I do? There we go. Is it working? Down. There we go. Press down again. Wow, look at that. So, sending it the wrong way. So what I'm going to be talking about is the priorities in failure. So all of us here were business leaders in some respect. And therefore, we need to own the topic of incident response. Now, there's another person earlier on who talked about cybersecurity as a team sport. And it absolutely is. And that's what incident response requires. That if the worst thing happens, when the worst thing happens, we operate together as business leaders on the same side, on the same team. It isn't the IT person's job. It's not the security person's job. It's all our jobs to get incident response right. So that's the first thing. And in the context of getting it right, we need to know what we're aiming at. What are we trying to achieve? And that is a controlled response. And when we ask the question, what do we want to be famous for after a cyber event? We want to be spoken about as the people who contained the problem, who got the organization back up and running and mitigated the harm that could be suffered. That is what we want to be famous for. That's the goal of our team sport. But to achieve that, we need to understand the roles and responsibilities of all of us as business leaders. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, is how do we get to the idea of a contained response? How are we going to have a planned response? How are we going to work as a team? And how are we going to be famous for doing the right thing? Because that's what it's all about, and that's why we're here in these conferences all around the world. Now, we've heard the idea of an holistic approach. If you look at cybersecurity incident response by itself, disconnected from the rest of the topic, you're going to fail. So the most important thing you need to understand is that incident response has to understand your threats and risks. And that's where most organizations go wrong. An incident occurs and they really have no conception about what it is about as an incident, why it's materialized, and what it's aiming at. So we need to understand the threats and risks in our environment. And when we get to that point, we are able to identify the scenarios that matter the most. That's what we've got to aim at. We don't want to protect the irrelevant things. We don't want to sweat the small things. We want to deal with the issues that matter the most to us. So we need scenarios. It could be a business email compromise attack. It could be an advanced persistent threat from a nation state. It may be a ransomware attack, and that's what I'm going to speak about in a moment. And in light of those scenarios, we can plot our roadmap. We can develop our playbooks. We can understand how we get to the outcome of success. And then we can rehearse all the way through those scenarios. And that is best practice. If you remember that as business leaders, you will achieve best practice. If you wanted further evidence, you can see this ISO 27035 family. Have a read of that if you want more detail. So let's look at the ransomware attack. Let's take this as an example. So what happens with ransomware is the threat actor throws security back at us. So when you think about cryptography, we use cryptography for security, for confidentiality, for data integrity, for entity authentication. We use cryptography for good. The threat actor turns it around. They take the good idea of security, cryptography, and they tie us down in knots. And all of our data's locked up, it's unavailable. And alongside that, there may be exfiltration of the data. They take it out of the network with them, and that leads to a variety of extortions. So the first extortion is, give me the money, and I'll give you the decryption key. Give me the money, and I won't put the information I've stolen on the dark web. Give me the money, and I won't tell all of your customers what's happened. So all of these layers of extortion, they're going on. So think about what that may feel like. Obviously, it's highly disruptive. We're stopping our business in the worst case scenario. But the thing about this attack is that it's highly visible. When you think about how so many cyber threats operate, it's about the attacker being hidden. They don't want to be seen. They want to get in your network and not be detected. But something strange about this attack is exactly the opposite once the attack has operationalized itself. Then they want to be seen. They want your customers to see the attack. They want the pressure to come in to your organization, not just from them, but from your employees, your business partners, and everyone else around you. And imagine what that feels like. Imagine the stress. Imagine having to deal with this when you've never dealt with it before. And then on top of it, think about all the various legal duties that are engaged. So here we go. These are our priorities. Remember this, folks. Get this right, and you will be famous for the right things. When the attack happens, we would have prepared for it, so we can operationalize that plan. The plan's there, ready to go. We can mobilize our teams. We know, because of the scenario, what type of containment we need to do, and we know where we need to bolster our security defenses. We will understand, because we can operationalize our plan, the nature of the assessment that needs to be performed to understand the risks and harms to other people, to our stakeholders, our business partners, and then we can get about mitigating the problem. All of this comes back to the idea of understand the threat, understand the scenario, create the playbook, rehearse around it, and you will be operating to best practice levels. And then you need to manage the narrative. You've got to get on top of the narrative. Remember, that this is out there, highly visible? How do you control that when your employees are screaming at you? How do you control that when other people are angry with you, when you can't deliver on a service? So we've got to manage that narrative. We've got to preserve all the necessary evidence. We've got to log every action we take and every decision we make. And we've also got to manage the load on the incident response team. If you are part of the incident response team and there's been no planning, okay, day 1 stressful. Day 2, you're exhausted. Day 3, you're failing. What's going on at day 10? Think about the emotional well-being of incident response. You will never have due regard for that priority if you do not follow the tips that I just mentioned. So in conclusion, we're going to finish this on time. First talk, on the nail, 30 seconds to go, count it down yourselves, ain't going to go over. Right, who are the people? Roles and responsibilities. Incident management team, who are they? Do you know them? You need them. You need an incident coordinator, brings it all together. You've got to have the IT security team working with your forensics team and working with your business continuity team. You need experts who are able to explain what the threat actor's about and engage with them, and the lawyer to deal with all of that stuff. Thank you very much. Just on time.